Well, we do have a few students on campus, as do many campuses, students who might be homeless, students who might have situations at home that require them to be away, international students. So there's a
Mhm.
very small number of students on our campus. It's a very quiet, it's even quieter than it is in the summer right now on campus. I feel like every day is almost a holiday. Christmas morning when you wake up and the whole town is just very quiet and kind of in their homes. It's different. It's unsettling for those of us who are used to having our students around.
So with that said, I mean, obviously, so many classes, are switching
Mhm.
switching to virtual classes on so many other different college campuses as well. I assume classes are still being held online.
Yes, they are. All SUNY campuses went online. So our students are studying from home or from their residence halls here. In fact, my daughter's home from college right now. She's also a SUNY student, a senior, and she's studying from home and taking her classes every day.
What's the impact, do you think, on student life right now on SUNY campuses across the state?
This is challenging for all of us. Obviously, we're all in a new normal. We're all trying to kind of build the airplane as we're flying it, as they say. So, for instance, many campuses are going virtual with their student activities. So we're still sending out our normal student activities events on Fridays. They look differently, they feel different, but we're still trying to connect with students. And I know campuses across the country are continuing to do that so that students still feel that they're connected to their campuses, because that's really important.
Campus connection was something that got me through,
Mm-hmm.
and I still feel a strong connection with
Yes.
Oneonta, and that's why I'm so fortunate to have you as my guest this morning. Um, Beyond that, I mean, I know alumni weekends are canceled. I know so many different summer events too, as we look ahead, have kind of been either postponed or canceled. So
Mm-hmm.
that has a major impact as well, I would assume. Um, when it comes to financials of a college as well.
There's a tremendous financial impact to this that we're, studying, SUNY's studying. It's going to take a long time to recover from this, I believe. We're in a good position. Many campuses are, particularly in SUNY that I'm aware of. The hit to campuses with very large international populations is going to be challenging. Division I campuses who take in money from ticket sales and those sorts of things, there's a lot of budget implications to this for sure.
So Karen, talk to me about, I guess, the incoming class, the class that's coming in the fall here.
2020. Uh-huh.
Um, what is different then about how they're going to be coming in? I mean, because we don't know, when this is going to end. And the governor yesterday said, this isn't just like a light switch that you flip back on.
Right.
So what's the process from here?
Well, it's, early in March when we had to cancel all of our admitted student events. You haven't been a student guide in our office, you know how exciting those events can be for the
Yeah.
admitted students. It was devastating, personally and professionally, not to be able to allow students to campus. But we've gone online, as has every college across the country. So we have all these virtual events for students so that they can try to gauge whether the culture and the community is the right fit for them, because that's really what we're trying to establish and allow them to do during those visits. Um, for instance, yesterday I had a meeting with our Director of New Student Services, Dr. Monica Grau, and we talked about different plans depending upon how this progresses over the next several weeks. So we're going to have a plan. Right now, our plan is to have our orientation program on campus in August. Some campuses who normally would have a summer orientation are moving them to August. We will have a plan should our campus start date be delayed. We'll have a plan should we be holding online classes as well in the fall. Our hope, as is the hope of all colleges, I believe, that are residential in nature, we want our students back on campus this fall, but that's not necessarily in our control at this point.
Right. And so when it comes to actual requirements too, and the regents were canceled this year. Some
Yeah.
SATs, aren't going on as scheduled. And I guess this really impacts more
Yeah.
juniors than it does seniors because, those are the people who are really applying to schools at this point. Um, where do you go from here and what do you require at this point?
Yeah, well, this is a forgiving time. This is unprecedented, and so with the Regents exams being canceled, I read the guidance um, late yesterday and early this morning from the Board of Regents, and those will be forgiven. So students will be getting credit, will be getting for those exams that they're not taking. So we're going to move in that direction. So there's nothing really for this year that we can do about that, and that's going to last through the students who are in 8th grade taking the Regents exam. So we're going to see this for a while, but we're going to have to be aware of it and sensitive to it. SAT, some campuses are feeling that challenge because some campuses do have students who take the SAT, say in March or April or May or June of their senior year. We at our campus don't see a lot of that. But certainly for the juniors, we're waiting for the College Board. They've given us guidance indicating that they're going to add dates in the fall and so possibly some school dates so that they can do testing in the school during the day. Some additions there too. And SUNY has given us guidance for this year that we can look to students if they don't have a test score, and we could admit them given special circumstances. So some campuses will be going in that direction as well. The goal is to get these students into higher education if they want to be, admitted. So that's what we're trying to do.
So that's a really big deal. So SUNY is giving out guidance at this point that, if SATs weren't offered or that student wasn't able to take the test, that they can still be admitted to schools statewide?
Yeah, it's a campus-based decision. But because we're part of the SUNY system, SUNY has our policies and procedures are by SUNY. So we are required to collect test scores for our students as we admit them at the 4-year level and at all of the SUNY ops, I believe. So they have to provide us with the guidance to give us the flexibility to make the rule apply as best we can for our individual campuses. So each campus is going to look at their applicant pool, is going to look at the students and apply that as best they can.
So what does that do to things like financial aid or, the number of students who can actually be admitted in a given year? Does that hurt or does that help?
The SAT issue, the SAT ability, I think it depends on the campus. I think I don't see that as having an impact on financial aid. Right now, there's so many additional questions that it's really hard to answer that.
Sure.
Right, we're in an unprecedented time. Students will be deciding whether they want to go away now. Do they want to stay closer to home? Do they want to go further from home? Do they want to go to the country where they feel more safe rather than an urban area? There's so much wrapped around what's happening for these seniors and for these families. It's really difficult to say the impact of one piece of it. I think we're all kind of holding our breath. We're not sure what direction families and students are going to want to go in for the fall.
You mentioned something a little while ago when we first started talking here about virtual tours and virtual open houses. Something actually just popped up in my memories on Facebook from when I was running the open houses from my senior year of college, and I was, I got such a nostalgic feeling because it was such a great time personally as a senior in college, but also to be welcoming incoming freshmen or potential freshmen to a school that I absolutely loved. So talk to me about how students and families can get that idea, number one, of how much pride there is in the campus, not only in Oneonta, but across the SUNY system, but what you guys are doing to kind of stand out a little bit.
Campuses are developing these virtual programs. What we're doing is we have student guided tours. We have a virtual tour online, and we're going to take that and we're going to add a live element to it starting this Friday. So we'll be walking students through, a student tour guide will be walking through the virtual tour.
Cool.
So we're excited about that. We have student chats, we have student video conversations, we have one-on-one interviews with video or phone with all of our counselors. Last night we had an academic advisement session. Tonight we have Residence Life. So we're creating all of these opportunities. We have lots of videos that we've put on a virtual visit page so that students can kind of get a sense of student life. We've gone through B-roll to say, all right, what does our campus community look like when it's full and active, because that's what we want to show these students. That's what they're looking for. So we've done some of that to try to provide them again with that community feel. And we're also using Instagram and Facebook quite a bit. We have our Insta chats once a week. We're going live on Facebook Live. So we're doing those other things as well as creating connections with our current students. That's really what's most important. You know that as a former student guide, students want to connect with students to see if it's the right fit for them.
Right. And that was always so important. And, just being open and honest. I mean, you said it yourself, these are just unprecedented times. And I think everyone across the board is walking through this together with kind of a sense of uncertainty, because we don't really know how it's going to impact the future. And, you can forecast, but you certainly can't say this is definite. But you also kind of explained that it's going to be long lasting. So maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit. You said that this is going to, impact even seventh graders all the way through their high school career potentially.
Yeah,
in terms of the Regents exams, of course.
Sure, yeah. And so admissions offices, and we're starting to get questions already, and certainly the guidance community is, because I was on the phone with a Westchester guidance counselor yesterday to talk about this. And we're going to need to be mindful. We are going to know what semester, what year, it's June 2020, those Regents exams are going to be different, right? That we're going to see different things on the transcripts moving forward. And that's going to be our responsibility, as well as the school counselors, to talk and discuss that and what happens. But students are being held harmless, which is really the best option for them. They're being held harmless because this is out of their control. So to that regard, they will still have the opportunity to get their advanced Regents diplomas and all of those other things they may want, even though they're not taking all of the exams that normally they need to sit for.
So do you think this at all will change the requirements on college's behalf? Do you think that this will increase standards, I guess, for lack of a better term, or do you think this will lower standards?
I'm not really sure. I think that the conversation that I've been in at this point is there's lots of conversation around going test optional for campuses. Many campuses are doing it for a year, for next year, because of the lack of availability of testing for this semester, and knowing that there's going to be a strong demand next year. That's what I've been hearing. We haven't had those conversations on our campus. And again, SUNY has to approve test optional campuses, and there's a process. So I don't think that SUNY is going to move in that direction across the board. I don't know that for sure, but that's my sense, having been in the system as long as I have been. And where each campus is going to make their own determinations and move forward in that way.
And Karen, I mean, you are a graduate of Oneonta. You've been in the admissions system, in higher ed for quite some time. Is there one thing that you're, telling prospective families? Is there one thing that you're telling prospective students, kind of about the future, just to hang tight?
Yes, I'm telling everyone to take a breath. We're all in this together again, and families are looking to us with questions that we may not be able to answer yet. But I assure them, and I know that my colleagues across the system and at colleges are assuring them of the same, that once we get those answers, we're going to share them with them. But again, we're all building this as we're flying it. And so it's going to take some time to kind of maneuver through all of the intricacies of all of the questions. As part of a campus system, we participate in shared governance. So things have to go through certain processes. And that's a wonderful opportunity for us to share and dialogue on campus. At the same time, it sometimes slows things down. And people who are in the academy don't always understand that. So it's just patience, I think.
It seems like it's a little bit different, obviously, for SUNY schools than it is for private schools, too. So it seems like there's a huge differential.
Yeah, maybe we're not as agile at times, but, in terms of there's more, there may be a little bit more process, but I think we're doing really well. Our chancellor's been giving quite a lot of guidance, and they are on top of it. And so I'm feeling really good about being part of the SUNY system, as always.
That's great. And I think so many students rely on SUNY schools. I did. It was a great option for me and certainly helped me get to where I am today, and you as well, obviously.
Yes.
Um, I guess my final question here is a bottom line. When it comes to admissions, is it business as usual as usual as it can be in Oneonta and across the board in the SUNY system, or is it kind of just day by day?
I think it was day by day for the first few weeks of this when we started to say, all right, what are we going to do today and tomorrow? But at this point, I've had conversations. We need to plan forward. We can't be caught on our heels, as they say.
Right.
So we're managing the day to day, but we're planning with different ideas for the future. So, we're going to plan virtual events for the summer, but hope that we can welcome families to campus, and those sorts of things.
Karen, anything else you want to add here that you think maybe a student or a family member thinking about going to a SUNY school might want to know, maybe about scholarships or anything along those lines?
I think it's important for families to, again, take a breath and to work with the institutions and the campuses that they're considering, because what happens at Oneonta is different than what happens at Binghamton or Genesee or Buffalo, for that matter. And so it's going to be important. It gets confusing for families in that way because they think we're a system, and so we all have the same policies and procedures, but that's not always the case. So hang tight. It's a stressful time for everyone anyway, and adding a pandemic is challenging. However, if we're going to have a pandemic, the year 2020 is not a bad time to have it, given the technology opportunities we have as a society. Think about that. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation like this. When I started at Oneonta, we were building our first website.
Jeez.
So the ability to communicate now allows us to stay connected, allows us to get the information out as quickly as possible and to answer questions.
Karen, I love you. I think the world of you, and I really appreciate you being here with me. And, all these years later, from a mere freshman in 2005 to here we are 15 years later, you're still one of my go-to people, and I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. I have it no other way. It was fun to do this. I've never done this. This is my first time. So thanks so much.
My pleasure.
And
we'll speak soon.
Birthday coming up, my friend.
I do. April 26th.
I know. See you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll have more information available for you on WKBW.com. Have a great day.